Support WrestleTalk!
Donate on Patreon.
Hello and welcome to WrestleRamble. This is Luke Owen, I'm Ollie Davis, and today we're going to be reviewing this week's episodes of Raw and Smackdown. It's going to be a little bit shorter and more condensed than usual because I'm on death's door and I can't go very long without starting to keel over and coughing, spluttering.
You have been a coughing and spluttering man all over this studio for the last couple of days, where you have, I feel, dragged yourself in unnecessarily. So I would have much rather you just stayed at home and get better. But like the trooper that you are, your love for the Swaft Nation has meant that you have dragged yourself in, as well as stuff that needs to be done around the studio, dragged yourself in for the Swaft Nation so we can finally record our first WrestleRamble in over a week.
So that usually I would make fun of you, like, I don't care about the Swaft Nation, be all cynical. But the truth is, weirdly, I feel like I haven't been hanging out with my friends. Like, I feel like even though it's me and you here, I do feel like the camera is another person, and whoever's watching at home, you are that other person.
Usually disagreeing with us.
Yeah, so and letting us know in the comments. So yeah, it does feel good to be back, and
it's good to have you back.
I really wanted to do a WrestleRamble, but yeah, it's going to be shorter than usual. We're not going to do a full recap of Raw and Smackdown. We're just going to sort of give our overall impressions.
I mean, let's be honest, there isn't really that much to recap anyway.
We could just do Raw and then say, and pretty much the same thing happened on Smackdown.
There was a good main event. The Bludgeon Brothers are awesome. Fashion Files isn't on TV anymore. That's your 3 talking points.
There's a mid-card triple threat match that's pretty much the same, and women's division. Control-C, Control-V.
Aha!
Excellent. But before we get into that, there is a plug to do, because the WrestleTalk magazine issue DOS, if you don't speak Spanish, it's issue 2, is out, available to order now. It's in. I'm so excited. It's in. The link is in the video description below. It will take you right there. And it is the WrestleTalk 100. So we have ranked the 100 best wrestlers in the world in order, based, very subjectively on what we think, like the whole WrestleTalk team. It's big. We want to make that a big thing. And to promote that, we will be putting up an exclusive podcast tomorrow on the podcast feed with me, WrestleTalk magazine's editor James Dixon, Power Slam's former editor Finn Martin.
Finn Martin?
Big deal. He's like the English Dave Meltzer. And Inside the Ropes is Kenny McIntosh.
Inside the Ropes? I've heard of them. They're on YouTube.
Exactly. Kenny's great.
Kenny's very cool.
Yeah, so, and we all argue over our top 20 picks. That's going to be on the podcast tomorrow because it's audio only. We wouldn't just put up something without beautiful video to enjoy. But yes, order the WrestleTalk magazine issue 2 using the link below.
What else is in the magazine, Ollie Davis?
There's loads of stuff. There's our reviews, our WrestleTalk video diaries, an exclusive video when we went to, we reviewed Rev Pro's Nights 1 and Night 2.
From Global Wars, absolutely, where we just essentially gushed over Keith Lee versus Tomohiro Ishii, which is one of the best matches of 2017.
Yeah, and we said, like, why don't you do 10 minutes of this review? 25 minutes later.
Yeah. What a great video that
lots
is.
Lots of rambling. There's audio versions of some of the articles, which we read off, don't we?
We certainly do. Yeah, there's a really great article from Finn in there about Kurt Angle and kind of like Kurt Angle's his entire career. Like he spanned the rise and the resurgence of Kurt Angle since he's come back to WWE. It's a really, really great article.
It is somehow a great read, a great listen, and a great watch. All in one magazine. How is that possible? Order it using the link below, but let's get on with the Raw review.
Haha, it's a Raw review, looking jacked, man!
So rather than do a play-by-play recap of what happened on Raw and reviewing every minute detail, the 14 segments of Kurt Angle just looking at his phone, we're going to give our sort of overall impression and then dive into a few key storylines.
I haven't even brought in my notes.
What?
I know that. I took detailed notes because I had to do the Raw and Smackdown review this week, just as I do every single week. I take these detailed notes. They were like, hey, we're just going to talk about main talking points. I was like, notes? Who needs them? Just give me the point, I'll talk about them.
Shooting from the hip. This is where you're going to completely fall over. I was going to kind of rely on you because my brain's really foggy and I'm dumb at the moment. That is My brain isn't working, so I'm going to say a lot of wrong things.
I
was kind of hoping you would correct them as I went through.
I will still correct you because my brain is mostly working. I mean, obviously, I'm still going to make mistakes because that's part of my gimmick.
Yeah.
But I will do my best to put you on the straight and narrow.
So it felt like a big. Well, it's a big show. It was the night was structured around Shield matches versus, I'm calling them the Samoan Bar.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Because you've got Samoa Joe, Sheamus and Cesaro, and they're all facing off against Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns. And it was a nice way to hold together the night.
Yeah.
I thought it was a good narrative structure.
Samoa Joe, who I'm just going to now dub the Other Miz. Because
you just think it's a hot tag.
That's all he's done. Is the Miz is like, oh, I've got to do a movie. They're like, but we need someone to fill the Miz role. Joe, you go there now. Like, we'll just slot you in there. The dynamic remains the same because you're also now buddies with the Bar, and we could just continue this feud, kind of like pretending the Miz is still here.
I kind of disagree because Joe brings something. Oh, don't know what fell over there. Because Joe does bring something very different to the table.
I'm being facetious.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
See, not just dumb, I'm just not picking up on social cues either.
No, I'm being facetious. I clearly know that Joe is better than Miz.
Cool.
And he does bring something different to the table. It's just funny how they've still got that same dynamic like friendship because they're like, because the heel, because the Bar is still feuding with Death, so we're like, suppose they better be friends now as well.
Key word there. Still.
Yeah.
Like, it kind of feels different because Samoa Joe's been added to this mix. But this really, at its core, is a tag team feud that's been going on since before SummerSlam.
Yes, it has.
This is ridiculous. It's like the Usos and New Day. Oh, yeah, it's new because there's new teams added. No. It's the same. Just freshen it up a bit.
I was listening to a podcast recently, and they were talking about, they made the points like, oh, would you like to see a cruiserweight tag team division? And the other person was like, I don't want to hear about any more new belts until I hear the words women's tag team division, because they've only got like the women's belt on there at the moment, and I just feel like that's a division that you should be growing rather than the cruiserweights. And they were like, and that'd be so great because you can get more women on TV. And obviously I can't argue with them because it's a podcast, much the same way that the SWAF Nation can't argue back with us while they're listening / watching. But my first thought was just like, yeah, but the problem is that if you've got 8 women on the thing. Like, as soon as these two face off against each other, like, then what do you do? Like, do they just
They're not deep enough.
No, it's not deep enough.
It'd be great if it was a shared roster, because that's like 16 to 20 really good female wrestlers.
Absolutely, you can certainly work with that. But with their tag team division, it's just they've got the Bar and they've got Shield, and that's about like Galanderson are nowhere to be seen. The Revival are still out injured. Heath Slater and Rhino aren't really on TV anymore, and
The Hardys are split.
So. Like, you've just got these two teams. They just have to keep feuding.
R-Truth and Goldust.
Oh, well, could have been. What could have been?
Could have carried the division.
Don't you mean R-Truth and Brock Lesnar?
Oh, yes. The team everybody wants to see because R-Truth is so over. So Dean Ambrose and Samoa Joe had a pretty decent match. I was just into it from the Jason Jordan element of the storytelling.
I'm really into this kind of three-way feud between Reigns, Jordan, and Joe. I really like it. I described it in the Raw review as like Joe and Reigns are like these just two Samoan badasses, and then Jason Jordan is Scrappy Doo. Just like, let me at him, just trying to get into this fight while the adults are playing. I love it so much.
Although there's something about Scrappy Doo that is noble, like he's doing it from a good intention place. Whereas Jason Jordan is just a dick. Unfortunately, we didn't get to talk about Raw last week because I was off ill. I loved Raw from last week. I thought it was an excellent show, and the Jason Jordan stuff in this feud was like a big part of that. And he seems to have this new gimmick where he will apologise for something profusely, and you're like, yeah, but I don't believe it. And then, because the next line, he is immediately going back on everything he's just apologised for. In this show, he goes up to Kurt Angle and he says, I'm sorry, I got angry at you last week for not letting me face Joe. And then in the next line, he goes, but you should have put me in there. And it's just... It's very good is what I was trying to say. These cough jump cuts will happen quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I really like this. He just feels like a petulant teenager, just ready to slam his door, just being like, but I want the match! Door slam. I'm going to go in there and play my PlayStation now and hate my dad. I love it. I think it's a great character.
Really good character. Really, really well portrayed by Jordan.
Jordan's really good in this role.
And it sort of protected everyone, the Joe Dean Jordan dynamic. And Joe came off like a badass as well. There was a moment right at the end of the finish because Jordan sort of cost Dean the match Had a visual pin. And so Joe takes out Dean and Jordan on the outside with a dive. Obviously, Dean's the guy he wants to pin, so he chucks him back in the ring. Sees Jordan lying on the ground. Senton. Brilliant.
Loved it.
Yeah,
so
really
cool.
good. But Seth Rollins and Sheamus had a pretty decent match, but
oh man,
we've seen it so many times.
Like, you were right with it, like they were promoting this as a big show because it's WWE Week on the USA Network. Don't know if you've heard these them talking about this. They've kept it quite low key.
Someone had a sign on Smackdown that said WWE Week.
Oh, that was a plant.
Did you not think?
No.
I think it was just someone having a laugh.
Yeah? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
he's super into it. WWE Week is over.
But they were like, oh no, it's not, because NXT's on USA Network tonight. Live. Well, not live, but it's been pre-taped. Anyway, but so they were having these big old matches announced. But when they were announcing these big matches, I was like, yeah. Oh, Rollins versus Sheamus. Like, man, I know it'll be good. It'll be a really solid TV match, but I can close my eyes and see the match. And yeah, and good as it was, I've seen it 20,000 times.
But Dean and Joe have never gone against each other, apparently. I don't really take WWE's word for it when they say things like that. Because that Abu Dhabi... We'll talk about Abu Dhabi later. But, oh my word, Roman Reigns versus Cesaro.
Oh, man.
Was an excellent match.
So good.
Yeah.
Like, just both guys are just absolutely great. Like, Roman Reigns is an exceptional pro wrestler. That's why I said on Twitter yesterday, I just think he's an exceptional pro wrestler. But Cesaro's just on another level. Like, he is a guy that people have said for years, why don't they have a rocket strapped to this guy? Like, Paul Heyman's been saying it for so long, and you're like, yeah, why haven't they had a rocket strapped to him for so long? Because he's just amazing. And because he's been in this tag team with Sheamus now for, well over a year, 18 months, a year and a half, whatever, you kind of forget how great he is as a single star sometimes. And, like, this match was absolutely it was sensational.
It was really well structured around, this is a classic pro wrestling match. I'm going to target a body part and just work it over for the whole thing. And the babyface has to overcome that. And I thought he did it really well. There were some fantastic spots in there. The, just those uppercuts to the arm.
Yeah.
What Roman Reigns did really well when, I can't remember, Cesaro had him, down ready for a neutralizer, was it? And Roman Reigns sort of ab-crunched up, went over, and then sort of turned this into a powerbomb. Yeah. It's magnificent.
He's just very, very good. He's very, very good at what he does.
It was really, really good match, and both guys were sort of more over by the end of it, which is exactly what you want.
Yeah, loved this. And again, we said this when he won the Intercontinental Championship and he started this open challenge. This just allows Roman Reigns to have the best match on TV every week. I think it's a great way to get Roman over.
Yeah. So next up, we have the next thing we're going to talk about very briefly is week 2 of Woken Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt.
This time with transitions.
Yeah, that was misjudged.
Yeah, like I said in the Raw review, I hope they have something better for next week because I don't tell many people this, but I didn't like the Woken Matt Hardy stuff from last week.
What?
And I liked it even less this week.
You liked it in TNA though.
I don't really think I saw it in TNA. Like, I really just saw it from the periphery. I suddenly realised this when I had to do the broken Matt voice last week in the news.
And you did an impression of an Indian gentleman.
Well, someone said Japanese. A few other people have said Italian.
Everything but Matt Hardy.
Everything but Matt Hardy. Although some people, a few people said it was all right. My mum, was probably one of them. Your mum was one of them. But, there was... I suddenly realised when I had to read the voice, I was like, I think that last week on Raw was really my first exposure to full-on broken Matt Hardy because I just didn't watch any TNA. You see bits here and there. You kind of watch the videos and stuff, and you're like, well, this is pretty wacky. This is quite new and inventive. But then that was it, and then now I'm kind of seeing it in its all full glory on my TV each week, and I'm like, ooh, actually, it's quite annoying. It's just an annoying voice and an annoying laugh.
I thought the first week was amazing. I thought it really captured. It just and hearing the crowd really cheer every time Matt came on screen.
That was great.
And it was just the freshness, and it was so different from everything else on the show. Because last week's show, it was like the first bit was a really solid men's singles match, then a really solid women's singles match, then a really solid cruiserweight match. It was like everything was different. This week just felt like everything was good, but all the same. It's one of my criticisms.
One of the things that doesn't help this, sorry to interrupt, one of the things that doesn't help this is that whenever these like promo things finish, cuts back to the announcers, and you got Michael Cole like, he is certainly a little bit crazy now, isn't he? Oh, that Matt Hardy, whacker. I was like, well, all of a sudden this just seems like a complete joke. I mean, like, I'm not into it already, but this just makes it feel like a complete joke.
It significantly undermines anything they're trying to achieve, having Cole do that. Corey's role is to put it over, but yeah, having Michael Cole, who's meant to be the most trustworthy, who is anything but, really, really undermines it.
It was the same with the Fashion Files. Like when you had Michael Cole on SmackDown Live for that week, when he had to introduce the Fashion Files and it came back and he was like, well, that was stupid. And you got Corey Graves going like, this is dumb. And then you got doofy Byron Saxton going like, this is the best thing ever. And you're like, well, now I don't want to like it because this dick likes it.
So, Woken Matt Hardy week 2. I loved it the first week. You weren't impressed either weeks, but the second week definitely was less impressive.
It's just goofy nonsense.
And it's those transitions really do slow down the pacing. Really, really misjudged. Like, to have it in every time they cut back and forth.
Yeah.
Sure, like, get it over. It's a kind of cool graphic. That could work really well as a start of a Titantron. Get it over. But not every 20 seconds for a 4-minute period.
Here's the one thing I will say I like about it. I like Matt's outfit, and I like his terrible background. I like the fact he just looked like he's standing in front of curtains. Kind of like how we just sort of sit in front of this naff background here. That I really like about it.
It kind of gave me flashbacks to Darren Young and Bob Backlund, and how at the start we were like, this is awesome. And then 4 weeks later we're like, they haven't got anything else they're doing, have they? Damn. Well, you've slaughtered this to death.
Well, yeah, you suddenly realise, because if they're building this towards like a pay-per-view match, then are they going to do that at the Royal Rumble, or are they going to save it till Elimination Chamber? Because that means if they're saving it till Elimination Chamber, we're not having a match between the two until middle of February. So that's like, 2.5 months they've got to build this.
Raw 25th anniversary.
You reckon that's when they'll do it?
Well, that seems to be the logical point where you blow off a lot of your secondary feuds before the Rumble.
I hope it is.
So Absolution and Asuka.
Yeah, what a segment this was. Certainly a lot to dive into and discuss on this one, I suppose. Asuka was out there. She was supposed to have a match with Alicia Fox. And then Absolution came out and they did the gimmick from the other week where they were like, oh, I'm sorry, but the person you're supposed to be fighting, I don't know where they are. Where are they? And then turn around, they're on the screen going like, oh, ouchie, my arm.
A really bad selling job. Like, it wasn't like, I like those bits to be them down on the floor, people rushing around them. Quick, get help, medic. But this was Alicia Fox going, yeah, it's sort of hurts.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a bit stiff.
I'll be honest, so yesterday, it's very frosty and icy in London at the moment. I slipped on the way home yesterday, like a proper, woof, off my feet, landed right on my hip, worried I'd smash my laptop because my laptop was in my bag. And I was like, oh man, it was a proper, hard fall. And when I got home, because I was only about, I was about 10 metres away from my house, I walked through the door and I turned to my wife and I was like, I fell over. My arm's a bit sore, actually. That hurt quite a bit. And that was more or less what Alicia Fox was doing. It was like she just kind of slipped over on some water, hit her on the floor, was like, oh, that's a bit of a stinger.
Absolution didn't jump you, did it?
Yeah, that's what it was. Just, Charlotte! And then I fell over.
I think there are worse fates than being jumped by Absolution.
So Alicia Fox was there. She was kind of doing a bit of an ouchie thing. Then Absolution came down to the ring and they said to Asuka, you either join us or you get out the ring. You get out of our way, blah, 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 blah. And then Asuka was like, nope. And it was great because Asuka just stood there and was like, if you want to try and fight me, you can. I wouldn't recommend it. And then she did. And then she just kicked all 3 of their asses. It was absolutely awesome. And then Paige dives in. Woof, armbar. Oh, it was so great. But of course, the numbers game got on top of Asuka and they beat her down. And then that's where I kind of wish the segment had ended.
Yeah.
I wish it was just an Absolution beatdown and then it'd be like, oh man, Absolution laid waste to Asuka. Asuka's never been in this situation before. But it was the numbers game. It wasn't like Asuka didn't lose because she's bad. It was a 3-on-1 attack. Of course she's not going to win this sort of thing. And that's where I kind of wish they'd left it. And then Asuka can run through Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville before getting to Paige. That seems great. But no, what happened was Sasha Banks' music hits. Thankfully, she had that first ever women's match in Abu Dhabi, which is why she got this sort of this moment.
It wasn't the first.
Yeah. Well,
TNA had one.
Michael Cole correctly
In
said.
2010.
Michael Cole correctly said it was the first ever women's championship match
Right.
in Abu Dhabi. But Stephanie McMahon and everyone else was just like, no, it's the first ever women's match in Abu Dhabi. But yeah, TNA had one in 2010.
Yeah, so I think they said the Middle East, but in the United Arab Emirates in 2010, the beautiful people took on Sarita and Madison Rain for TNA. But as Byron Saxon told us on SmackDown, if it didn't happen in WWE, it doesn't count.
Doesn't count. Just doesn't count.
Fair play.
Fair play. So anyway, Sasha Banks runs down with the rest of the women's locker room, including, oddly, Alexa Bliss and Nia Jax. We'll come on to that in a bit. They kind of beat up Absolution and send them packing, and then all stand there, united as women, because you're only allowed to have one storyline in WWE.
Yeah.
You've got your one storyline. Here it is.
Yeah. It's a shame because, like, this is a good story in about 2 months' time, when Asuka's the numbers game keeps getting the better of her, and the rest of the women's division has been completely ramsacked. But it's only 3-4 weeks after Absolution's debut, and you've got all the women's division uniting against them. Not just the women's division, but the main heels of the women's division. Like, they're the last ones you want to bring on as the big roaring, yes, we're going to get them. Plus, it's 8 on 3.
Yeah.
You don't need that many women. Like, you could have made it a 5 or 6 on 3. Oh, we've got a t-shirt down. Rather than adding Nia Jax and Alexa Bliss in there. Absolutely baffling.
Especially because, like, Alicia Fox was out there. I thought you were hurt.
Yeah, that was another thing.
Yeah, Alicia Fox was out there. Nia Jax, I thought the whole point of you being with Enzo is so we can keep you away from Absolution and just, like, put you into this comedy role in 205 Live for a bit. But Alexa Bliss, correct me if I'm wrong, but the past couple of weeks she's seen Absolution, she's like, don't want any part of this.
Yeah. And
has walked away. That's been her character, which has been a really nice, like, addition to the Alexa Bliss character. But nope, here she is, just, united with the other ladies of Raw to beat down Paige and the other two.
It's a really throwaway payoff to that nice storyline.
Yeah, and then, to make matters worse, this whole segment had been designed to put Asuka over strong, so they end it with Nia Jax's music. I was like, you were so close. You had all the elements there, but then you spunked it all up.
It got me more than usual that Sasha Banks' music played
when
they ran out. I don't know, like, some weeks that's fine with me, but this week got on my nerves. And lastly, as the main event, we had Kane versus Braun Strowman, who went to a no contest via double count out. So we still don't know who's going to face Brock Lesnar.
Well, I assume it's a triple threat match.
Well, it is. That's what Dave Meltzer said.
Yeah,
that's the current plan. Yeah,
they're going with the triple threat match. When they announced this match, like, ahead of time, they were like, it's going to be Strowman versus Kane to face Brock Lesnar. I instantly was like, God, I hope Kane wins. Because I don't want Braun Strowman winning just so Lesnar can beat him again at the Royal Rumble, because like that's the last thing that Braun needs right now. I mean, honest, like him being in a 3-way and losing that as well isn't going to do him many favours either, even if Kane is only there to eat the pinfall, which is fine. That's a perfectly fine role to use Kane in. So that's one thing. I'm not like Finn Balor's there.
Yeah.
Like Finn Balor, Cesaro's there.
Why can't Finn Balor be in the 3-way instead of Kane?
Yeah. Like, there's 100 other guys that you could have put into this. But, yeah,
I think it's a spelling mistake. They meant to write Demon King.
Yeah.
Someone got the call sheet wrong.
Yeah, that's probably what it was. But yeah, here we are, Kane in another main event, and they had a fairly fun brawl. I was hoping it was going to build to a stairs match, but it doesn't seem to be the case. And it was just, here it was. Like it was what it was. I'm not that fussed. I don't want to see this match at the Royal Rumble, even as a triple threat match, because I just don't want to see Braun consistently lose. Like that's Austin Aries said on the Talk is Jericho podcast when he did the interview. It's like, once you've lost twice and you've gone for a title and you've lost twice, what's next for you? Like you're just a loser.
Well, at least they kind of had like a semi-intriguing match. This was the best of their encounters so far.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked the monstrous. Well, I didn't like it. It was just kind of cheesy, stupid. The tail of the tape before the match, and they had the monstrous moment at the bottom. Braun's was tipping over an ambulance, and Kane was crushing Strowman in a garbage truck.
Kane has had more monstrous moments than that in his career. Come on now.
Yeah, but yeah, they had a sort of no-sell-a-thon in the actual match, and then afterwards as well, lots of chokeslam kickouts with some awful announcing. Michael Cole and Corey Graves were like having a competition who could be more impressed with people kicking out of a chokeslam.
There was one moment in this match that I really liked, and that was the double sit-up spot. It was
what I was going to come on to, yeah.
Kane did his sit-up, and that was great, and then it just like they waited the perfect amount of time before Braun did his. It was absolutely awesome.
And then Braun like properly sassily went, what? And looked over at him. And Kane, to his credit, sold that magnificently by scurrying away on his back legs.
Yeah, it was great.
Like sort of Triple H when Undertaker kicks out of the...
Yep.
Was it the Tombstone at WrestleMania?
Yes,
whatever?
that's it. Yeah. There's I think there was a moment in this match as well when Booker T said oh man, no one's handled Strowman the way that Kane's handling him right now. I was like, do we have that Brock Lesnar feud earlier this year that Strowman lost? So I think technically, actually, that Lesnar's handled Strowman better than Kane did.
I just remembered something I was going to say earlier. I'm going to steal a joke. Can't remember who it was from on Twitter. They said Brock Lesnar versus Kane is the most Royal Rumble title match since Brock Lesnar versus Bob Holly.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Like we've said it before, but the Rumble's the selling point. So you can have these sorts of title matches in there. So I think having Kane in there, it's like, they've had Brock Lesnar versus Big Show on a Royal Rumble 1 year. It's your use of Lesnar, gets Kane out of the Rumble. It gives you a title match. It's a nice quick win for Lesnar. You can put it over strong as Lesnar's taken out another legend with one F5. Brilliant for a video package when you're leading into WrestleMania when Roman finally kicks out of it.
It's a SmackDown review, Maggle. I love it. We got us a flying Uso.
And SmackDown was pretty much the same. So let's get out of here. That's done.
Man alive, like what a boring show SmackDown was this week. Like a really boring show. With the exception of the main event, which I really liked, and I quite liked the Yep movement.
Yeah.
Just overall, man, just what a boring show.
It's like SmackDown was always the wrestling show. That's where you would go to watch the wrestling matches. But in recent weeks, that's become Raw's remit with these fantastic 10 to 15, 20-minute long matches. And SmackDown's kind of like the place you go to watch commercial breaks.
Yeah, man, it was an ad break heavy thing. But every segment was it was the same thing. It was like, here are the participants in your pay-per-view match. Here, one of them is on commentary. And then they somehow get involved. First match ends with a DQ because the guest commentator gets involved. Second match gets a DQ because the guest commentator gets involved. It's like you're just doing the same thing over and over and over again. I found it to be a very, very dull show.
It was not just dull, but also lazy.
Oh, God, so lazy.
And it just like, obviously there's the women's division parallels with Raw, and in the United States title feud, the Intercontinental...
No, it's United States.
United States title feud. That sort of mirrors it's another triple threat thing with what's going on Raw.
Not only that, but they did the exact same thing they did last week with the guest commentator getting in and causing a disqualification. And like the match went 90 seconds. Like 90 seconds. What was the point?
Yeah.
Like what was the point of doing that?
You could say that about so many matches here because it would be 90 seconds with an ad break in the middle.
Yeah.
The tag match, the women's match. Yeah, not a good show. And this is your go-home show. I thought WWE figured this out. They had such good go-home shows for Survivor Series.
Yep.
Remember Survivor Series?
Remember Survivor Series.
Who thought we would be saying that when we were all pooing all over it 3 weeks before, and then they changed everything for the better.
Well, yeah, but here we are. It was SmackDown Live, but I suppose the first topic is to talk about is the Riot Squad versus the women's division, which is the exact same thing they did on Raw. And, I mean, it was bad enough when they both debuted in the same week with almost the same angle. And
the same look.
Yeah. And then you've got... I just couldn't believe it when the Riot Squad took over and all the other women came out and beat them up. All the heels, no less. And I was like, come on, guys. Yeah. Like, what were you thinking?
It's a shame as well, because I feel like Paige is trying to work her way back into the establishment. Like, that's sort of... This is the only real difference. Whereas Ruby Riott and Sarah Logan and...
Liv Morgan.
and
Mandy Rose.
No. I've got a meal, man.
Oh, sorry, man.
Their thing, because they're all so new, they don't have a existing connection with the main roster. It feels like they're more anti-establishment. So why they're now lumberjacks, sort of doing the... I feel like they're too connected to Natalya, and I know they're probably going to turn on them as well. But they shouldn't be in this position.
I loved it
at this phase in their
on last week's show when you had Daniel Bryan and you had them all standing in a row.
Yeah.
And he's there going like, "Oh, quiet! I don't want to hear any more of this." Look, 'cause they're all going like, "We want a title shot. We want a title shot." So he then went, "You're all going to be lumberjacks in the match," and all of them went like, "Oh, that's great."
Yeah. That's what I wanted.
I was like, "No, it's not. You want a title shot. This has put you further away from the championship match because it's not even like you're facing for a number one contendership or anything. You're further away than when you went into this meeting."
Yeah, and because we didn't get to talk about it last week, Sarah Logan is incomprehensible.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm hardly one to talk for accents, but Oof, man,
She's turned that up. There's no way that's a real accent. Someone said, be a stereotype. She's
Yeah.
like, okay.
Yeah, it's like, so you're from the deep south, right? I sure am. Can you turn that up?
Yeah.
Can you dial that up ever so slightly? So I want you to say words, but barely make some of them audible, and you just pick out certain things. You're like, I think she said womp rats.
Yeah.
Like, did she shoot them with her T-16 fighter back home? Like, I can't quite make out what she said. Something about a chair.
Go back and watch last week's one, because I swear she asks Daniel Bryan, have you ever tasted gay meat? And someone's done like a sort of bad translation of everything to what it sounds like, a phonetic description. And yeah, it's stuff like that. Like, what about the gay meat, Daniel Bryan? Fashion Files. What the hell?
Moved off TV, man, because why put something popular and over on TV when you can put that on WWE.com?
You've watched the segment, right?
It's a great one, yeah.
It's really good. It's one of the best ones in a while. And you know what? The most insane thing, not only does it explain how the Ascension are back, which was a really good gag with, let me get it up.
You've got notes here?
I have got my notes, yeah. So, yeah, the Ascension go, well, it turns out the wasteland is full of two things, sadness and poisonous gas. And we're immune to poisonous gas, implying they were susceptible to sadness. But the most criminal thing about this is the payoff. This is the payoff episode to a storyline that's been going for 6 months. Breezango finally accept that it's the Bludgeon Brothers that have been tormenting them. It's kind of implied that they knew that all along, but they were just trying to skirt around facing them.
Well, man, but you know what? It was popular and over, so that can't go on TV. Like Finn Balor, because he's got to have competitive matches with comedy jobbers. Oh, don't get me started on that one. But yeah, it's a real shame. But you know, we're going to get Breezango versus the Bludgeon Brothers at the pay-per-view
This Sunday. Yeah.
This Sunday. You know, 1 week's worth of. Well, you could say 1 week's worth of build. Technically, it's been 6 months worth of build, but really, let's be honest, it's 1 week's worth of build.
And the Bludgeon Brothers had a great squash match.
It's ended with Colin Delaney.
Yeah.
From ECW fame, or WWE ECW fame, now with shorter hair.
And we've got to do a shout out to the
other lad,
the other guy who screamed brilliantly when he got powerbomb.
His selling of Eric Rowan was absolutely superb. Like, that's what you want from a jobber.
Yeah,
like
that's James Ellsworth levels.
Yeah. I did feel like Colin Delaney just sort of put in a call to WWE after James Ellsworth had been fired. He's like, you need a jobber? Like, remember me? Remember your ECW jobber? So yeah, I mean, it is pretty sad that the Fashion Files are now on YouTube, but hey, they're going to be on pay-per-view. They're doing better than Mojo Rawley and Zack Ryder are. Because pre-show baby weren't even featured on TV. They had their breakup 2 weeks ago, or was it 3 weeks ago, and haven't been on TV since. Like, so good job, guys. I hope that split's working out for you. Kick off.
So as a Bludgeon Brothers fan, though, you love them.
Yeah, I do love them.
How do you feel about them going up against a comedy act for their debut their first proper match?
Well, what I want this to be, a attempt at a comedy match, but the Bludgeon Brothers just absolutely decimating them. Just like trying to use their comedy wackiness, but the Bludgeon Brothers just aren't having any of it because they've got hammers and cool music. And when they have a t-shirt, I will be buying one.
I think that works if the Bludgeon Brothers are a badass, really threatening, big guy gimmick monster destruction thing.
Do you not think they are?
No, because they've got the hammers. The hammers makes them inherently ridiculous.
Still
awesome and fun.
Disagree.
But ridiculous.
Disagree.
So I think
strong disagree.
I think they're already too much on the. You see what my hand's doing there? It's like a wave thing.
Well, podcast listeners can't.
No, they can't. Well, podcast listeners, imagine a wave thing with my hands. They're like balancing on a tightrope of believability. And they're doing it at the moment, but they do have hammers, which is sort of making the balancing difficult. So when you put them with a comedy act, it's gonna bring that out. I mean, hopefully they can pull it off, and they're all very talented. I hope I'm sure they can.
Strong
but
disagree.
I wouldn't have done it.
Well, I mean, I look forward to, and I will say this, I think that I look forward to seeing them kill a credible tag team.
So the main storyline was Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn and the Yep movement.
Yes, loved this. I love the fact they had the Daniel Bryan t-shirts, but like I thought they were legit t-shirts at first, and it was only until they were in the ring I was like, oh no, those are just Daniel Bryan t-shirts, but they've just like stapled paper over the S.
Oh really? Oh, I missed that.
Yeah, because on the back you could see Daniel Bryan's logo at the top of the t-shirt, which I thought was a really nice touch. So yeah, I thought it was a really cool gimmick. Like, it was, they're inspired by their general manager, trying to side with him. But there are these issues with this feud, as was brought up a lot in the comments section of my SmackDown review last week, which is that, Shane McMahon's the babyface in all this, and Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are the heels, when actually they kind of feel like the babyfaces, and Shane McMahon is the tyrannical heel.
Yeah, totally, and very neglectful of his job. He's not he's not like charismatic anymore. He's just quite an annoying screen presence.
Thank God Shane was here for the Go Home show this week, right?
Yes, that as well. So we will now have Daniel Bryan announce this. 2 special guest referees.
Yep.
In a tag match. So there's going to be 6 people in and around the ring, and 4 people in the ring at all times, which apparently is what the
it's a tornado tag.
Well, it's going to be 2 referees and the people.
Yeah, but you said 4 people in the ring. Oh, I see what you're saying. Right. Okay, I'm with you now.
The partners on ringside.
Yeah, do apologise.
Apparently the tag match, though.
That's 4 in the ring.
That's 4 in the ring.
I'm looking forward to that.
I'm looking forward to that.
As long as it's not like the Survivor Series 1998 tag team match that you and I reviewed for the Patreon podcast.
Where no one knows what the rules are. Yeah. So that is... They were making a big thing. That's the first time ever. And I thought... Yeah, but there's probably a reason it hasn't been done before. That sounds inherently ridiculous. Like, maybe, a no disqualification match where Sami Zayn's banned from ringside.
Yep, or a Falls Count Anywhere Hell in a Cell match.
Yeah. It really is all around Shane McMahon. It's like, he needs stipulations and gimmicks on his matches. Just chuck them all. Throw them all at the wall.
They're looking at like all the smoke and mirrors that they possibly can do, but are confusing what smoke and mirrors are.
Do you think Shane McMahon will do a high spot off of Daniel Bryan? Is that why this gimmick's been added?
Someone's going through that announcer's table via a Shane McMahon elbow.
Off the top of Daniel Bryan?
Yeah, totally, yeah.
So I liked the flyering. I liked the little leaflets KO and Sammy were giving out to people. I liked how nobody came out to support them. I thought Bryan's work on commentary for the main event of Nakamura versus Owens was very, very good. It really sort of punctures through the WWE corporate speak bubble. You were talking about Shane McMahon being the heel and Bryan, Owens and Zayn being the sort of faces, really. And Byron Saxton was meant to be the face. But Daniel Bryan came off as the face, the credible person, and Byron sounded like an idiot on commentary.
But again, Byron is there as the babyface commentator who's there going like, Shane McMahon is doing brilliant things for this brand. He's a great commissioner. I'm fully behind all the decisions that he makes. He's a great boss. He signs my checks. And then you got Daniel Bryan and heel commentator Corey Graves siding with Daniel Bryan and siding with the other heels. But it's such a weird dynamic of just like the morals are all messed up in this. Because then you've got Daniel Bryan going like, I had a match with Kevin Owens 10 years ago in front of 300 people and he tried to gouge my eyes out. He tried to tear my eyes out. I don't forget that sort of thing. And then Byron's like, yeah, but it didn't happen in WWE. So like, but what? Yeah. So it doesn't count anymore. So we as the fans are going like, but that does count. Shut up, Byron. But yet he's supposed to be the babyface guy. It's a weird dynamic.
But he's a stooge.
He's a complete
everything
stooge.
He said is quite transparently a stooge. It's the sort of thing that Jerry Lawler would say, but not so, he'd have a more subtle thing, and Jerry Lawler was playing a heel back in the
exactly.
90s.
Exactly, he was the heel.
Yeah, but the problem is, Bryan, Owens, Zayn, they're doing really good work with this storyline. It's very fascinating. Don't really know where Bryan's going to go. There are loads of equal opportunities that all make sense that they could take this storyline in. I don't like that the stipulation is that Owens and Zayn will be fired from WWE. I'd have preferred it to have been from Smackdown, because that telegraphs, they're not going to get fired from WWE, and if they are, it won't mean anything because
they'll just come back. Yeah.
Whereas if it's from Smackdown, that creates genuine intrigue. Ooh, they could actually go to Raw, which is something that they were kind of teasing at Survivor Series in the YouTube videos.
No, I absolutely agree. And then, there's a moment in this match that I really liked. I actually thought it was a really fun match between Nakamura and Owens. I was really enjoying it. But there's just a little subtle moment. Byron lost his mind over it, obviously. But when Bryan puts the referee's shirt on, Nakamura hits a kick and has Owen pinned, and Bryan hesitates for just a moment. He looks, doesn't slide in, then slides in and counts into 2 counts. Oh no, it's just a 2 count. But it was, if he'd have got slid in at the right time, then Owens probably would have been pinned and Nakamura would have won. So then you got Byron Saxton, the babyface, going Bryan can't be trusted. You can't trust Bryan in this match. He's not on our side. He's not a good guy.
Yeah, but you can equally argue the opposite, that Bryan was checking on the referee, seeing if he could make the pin. You know,
but this is after he put the shirt on. Like, so it was, he had to make that call again, which is a heel move. But
I think there's enough doubt in there that it's still a grey area. Like, he hasn't done anything definitively heel yet. Like,
no.
Could be justified either way. It's all great. Everyone's doing great, apart from Shane McMahon, who's non-existent. He wasn't even here this week. He's a charisma vacuum other weeks.
And based on the conversations that Daniel Bryan had when he was on commentary, like that one phone call that we saw Daniel Bryan have with Shane was the only time they spoke all night, which means that Shane wasn't watching the show either. Because it was like, what does Shane think about you being the general manager, being the special guest referee? He's like, I haven't spoken to him. I was like, well, I'm pretty sure if Shane was really annoyed about it, he would have tried to call.
So who won, Raw or SmackDown? Click the I above our heads to vote in the poll, and we'll reveal the results in some time in the next few days.
We're nearly done.
I'm going to go for Raw. I thought Roman Reigns and Cesaro was terrific. I really enjoyed the Jason Jordan stuff. Although it was a bit of a boring show, I still thought, that could have been an excellent 2-hour show.
Yeah, I'm also going to go Raw. The Roman Reigns, pretty much going to echo exactly what you said. Whereas I think like Raw was an average show, SmackDown was a boring show. So yeah, Raw almost wins by default. The 2 sweetest words in the English language.
My voice is gone, so you do the outro.
Whoa, okay.
You do the outro.
God, I'm seeing it, man. It's
videos.
Yeah, so click these videos that have just appeared below us here to check out the latest news or WrestleRamble. Download the podcast, subscribe to this channel, don't pledge on Patreon, order issue 2 of the magazine, that's issue 1 right there, and support WrestleTalk. Follow us both on Twitter and all that governance as well. This has been Ollie Davis. I am Luke Owen, and that was Rambling.